All right, friends, so we are back with our masks, and now it is time to start making some of these designs and details three-dimensional into our clay project. So, using some extra clay, and this might be a different class period, you're just going to start to bend and shape that clay into whatever type of shapes and designs you want. I'm looking at mine, and I want to make this area around the eyes three-dimensional, so I'm going to start to kind of build up. Might need a larger piece of clay to make that area more 3D. So a lot of times when I'm doing this, I like to roll it into a ball and then roll it into kind of a coil or cylinder shape. I bend and shape it with my hands, and then I do what's called dry fitting it, where I fit it to my mask before actually attaching it. Notice that this little piece is a bit big. I'm going to smooth out any cracks that I have, bending and shaping and doing what's called modeling my clay. So, modeling it around, making sure that it's fitting. I like that. I'm going to use some of my tools to cut the clay, and I like the shape that I have. Now, it is time for me to attach it. This is one of the first years that you're going to really be focusing on attaching pieces of clay to another piece. So it's very important that you pay attention to these next few steps. Right now, your clay will seem like it sticks together because your clay is wet. However, in 2 weeks, your clay will dry out and will go into the kiln. If the only thing holding your three-dimensional pieces on is that wetness or that water, you are going to have a very hard time because your project is just going to completely fall apart. So what we have to do is a thing called score, wet, and weld. So scoring is when you scratch up the surface of your clay project. You do this to almost act like a Velcro. So you have those little bits of clay that pop out, and then you scratch up the surface here. You're breaking up what's called surface tension, which means that they'll be more likely to stick together and join. You also want to make sure that there's no air bubbles in between. Then again, using your water cups, you're going to take 2 fingers and only 2 fingers and lightly add a small amount of water. That water is going to act like a glue while you do the final and most important step, which is welding. So I'm going to push this on. Right now, you might pick up your clay project and be like, well, look, it fits, it stays, it's not coming off. That's because the water is still holding it on. You have to then take one of your wooden tools. I like to use a curved tool. And again, I apologize for the focus. And you're going to take that tool and you're going to physically force those 2 pieces of clay together. You go around the entire piece of clay that you have joined together. You will obviously do this while it's still flat on your table. I'm doing this so that you can better see it with the camera. Join the whole thing together, smoothing it out, forcing those 2 separate pieces of clay to realize that, nope, you're not separate, you're all one piece. Now, if I look at this, can you see all those rough edges right there? Well, some of you have asked about the toothbrush. This is what the toothbrush is really good for, or at least this is what I like using it for. Take the toothbrush, just dip it onto that sponge, and pull it against that welding area. I find that it smooths it out and adds a little bit of texture. If you don't like the texture that the toothbrush leaves behind, simply take your finger and smooth out any of those textures. Some of you might be wondering what this tool is for. So some of your containers may have this tool or any other tools that have ridges on them. Those tools also work for adding those scoring lines, but almost all of your tables will have needle tools. You need to add at least one part of your clay project and make it three-dimensional. Noses are great ideas, eyebrows, inner parts of the ears, they all work. At the end of class, please make sure your name is still legible. That means readable. And if you're ready for texture, start experimenting with that.